Alright, free will video. Should be a shorter one just because I do have to skip stick cam shortly. Anyway, did get to finally the website's working again. The stupid embeds weren't working from the very beginning. I just didn't even know it. And now, obviously, it's a Vimeo video, so they're working now. They even have a new little button, a little refresh button that you can hit, and that'll refresh the comments and reload the comment box. So if you make more than one comment, the box will come back and blah, blah, blah. And so this is all good stuff. So anyway, so this is Nick's video, where he just kind of beats Pyro with the truth that every word we have for any kind of human expression is really just a word describing a type of programming. And, you know, people are either owned by that type or not owned by that type. They're either possessed by it or not. So anyway, the newest video is conference report. And, you know, this image is a good expression of the video because, again, he's a little lofty-dofty. You know, he doesn't want to say anything explicitly. But at the end of his video, he says it, you know, well, maybe we are, you know, being owned, you know, by the process. That I don't do anything. It does it to me, all right, and creates a me out of it. But I don't have anything to do with it. It just happens to me. This, called me, happens to me. Kind of a thing. Piro, where the will is. I'll try to play a clip from that because, you know, again, he's asking for some sort of explanation of this process, and it's not that complicated. And so, well, I think I'll go through it when I go through my keywords here. But we'll see. So he was responding to this guy who I can't remember his screen name, sorry. But it was a good video. And then we have the Mystics video to Piro. And then there was a gray text video that I kind of want to get to too. Which wasn't terrible, but it's, you know, gray text's style is just so glib. It's just so irritating. I mean, nothing's important. Nothing matters. La la la. Let's all just go la 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 like a bunch of fat Teletubbies. So I just hate him for this bullshit. So I'll play a little bit of this.
I just think that consciousness is more interesting than this whole decision-making process.
Consciousness is more interesting than the decision-making process that's going on. I mean, it doesn't even mean anything. The decision-making process is the consciousness. That's what it is. And the decisions are always decisions between emotional stakes. You know, want. That's the game. That's what your will is made out of. So there's just no point in talking about there being some more important conversation when you're talking about the very conversation that will gets to if you keep talking about it enough. If you actually get past the bullshit, it's there to be grabbed.
But the whole thing's fucking interesting. You know, the whole human brain and how you
good. Contradict yourself.
How you can map the human brain and its behaviours and then see it in other human brains, and you can see it in other animals. And
yes, and then maybe when you really take it to its end, you'll realize that, oh, that's all it is a bunch of stupid themes. It's a formula. That's right, and we're just playing out a stupid formula. Yeah, I won't play this because I'm just going to argue through the whole thing. You know, it's just the crux of this does get to the real substance of what it is to be here in the game that we're playing, how stupid it is. Alright, so anyway, alright, the key thing I want to get to here is that the will, you notice your will and this thing, idea of choice, only when there's indecision. So only when, okay, there are competing themes. Two ideas pop up at the same time and they create some kind of dissidence because they're not compatible. This idea that I'll be a good person and the idea that, oh, the girl's drunk and I want some pussy. And so those two ideas are in conflict. And so now there has to be a will decision. And most of the time what the will decision is just liberating one of those two animals. So you're just going to pick one and liberate him. Say a third entity is going to make the choice about which one gets loose. And it's going to do it in this mechanical way. It's like HAL the Robot in 2001 or any kind of synthetic intelligence. The personalities inside of us are cliche simplifications. They're robotic, just standard operating procedure. Rah, 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 I'm afraid. I mean, they're just exaggerations and simplifications. And so you can really see the programming in them, because they are simplistic characters. And they're going to make this decision. And so that we have this third party, and he's just going to make a rationalization because he's friends with that guy over there. And so he'll just make up a rationalization, say something like, well, suffering doesn't matter, blah, 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 and then he'll take. Or, ethics don't matter because, well, in the whole scheme of things, there's billions of humans, and I don't have to worry about every one of them, and what's one in the drop of the bucket, who cares? One more suffering thing, who cares? 6,000,001 Jews versus 6 million, who cares? Yeah. So they make a rationalization, it liberates the monster, and that's called will. Yeah, and nothing to be proud of. Nothing to talk about in glowing terms like we overcame or we did this or we did that. No, it's just a bunch of thought themes and memes fighting with each other. And the logical ones, because we're a logical animal, tend to have dominance. You tend to have a harder time, spinning a line of bullshit inside your brain to get around the truth. And when you do it, you kind of see it, and you feel a little guilty and a little like a cheater and a weasel. Because your ego is kind of saying, yeah, you're cheating. I can see you cheating. I see you cheating. All right? You don't know that, or you can't say that, or you're lying. It sees it. You're doing it. And so it's bullshit. You're not fooling yourself. And you're doing it because you have a thing called want. So in the end, that's all that's competing inside of you are different wants. Okay, you want to have this thing called honor and integrity, so your penis is big and your horns are big and you're proud. But you also want all these things that are going to take away your honor and your integrity and make you a little dicked or a hornless fucker. So yeah, that's all there is here. There's a battle of memes, ideas, concepts. We're a product of our environment. We're basically mimicking pieces of it. Maybe part of me is mimicking some homeless guy I saw. Who knows? Grizzly Adams. Maybe a little that. Maybe a little Tarzan. Maybe there's a lot of characters in little Fred Flintstone. Maybe. Who knows? Dino. Yeah, maybe I'm just kind of a Dino. But anyway, all of that crap has coalesced, is mixed up through time, and is projecting itself as a thing called inmendum. But that's all it is. I'm a product of this environment that created me, and that's all I am, period. And the game I'm playing is just dirt fucking simple. The only thing that changes is some people are ass men, and some are leg men, and some are face men. Okay, it's all the little bullshit that we're fighting over. You like the blue team, and he likes the green team. She likes the tall guy. The other one likes the short, the fat shit. That's all it is. It's just bullshit. And so let's not aggrandize what's going on here. We're just programmed machines, just like any other animal, creature. And we're being controlled in an artificial intelligence manner. This is exactly the way I describe how artificial intelligence could be created. You should create a bunch of stupid programs, okay, that have to fight with each other, and the end result will be your smart program. The one that will appear smart. And the reason why it will appear smart is merely because there's so much nuance to the battle. And so there's just so much nuance to our indecision. You spend more time thinking, you'll think of more rationalizations. So if you have a program that can just say, wait a minute, slow down, count to 10, well, that 10 will give you time to think of some more bullshit, okay, to throw into the air, to tip the balance on the scales by remembering some other time when, oh yeah, I did cheat then and I got away with it. Or I saw that guy cheat and he got away with it. or whatever the bullshit, the thing will, you just give yourself more time to come up with some more bullshit. Yeah, so anyway, again, I guess my argument too here is this is like all these other cases. It's like freedom. Will is the same thing. We're not looking at what it is. It's not the will that's important. It's not the decision that's important. It's the circumstance where there's indecision that's important. It's indecisiveness that is the subject, not decisiveness. Because decisiveness is obvious. We know our will when it's when the choice is simple. When the choice is dirt simple, there's no will conflict. There's no observation of a will. It's only when when the decision isn't decisive, when there are competing interests involved, then it gets complicated. And it can get incredibly complicated depending on how elaborate your risk assessment is, how extensive your thought process is. If I go outside and I just see trees like an ignorant gray text, I just flop around and go, pretty tree, pretty flower, pretty flower. Yeah, life is simple. So in ignorance, will is easy because nothing's complicated. But if I go outside and I recognize I see a tree, and then I see the 80 years that the tree's been growing, and I have an understanding of how many dead bodies of fertilizer it's consumed to produce its leaves so it can glean some energy from the sun. And then I start thinking about billions of years of evolution and about trillions upon trillions of trees in every ounce of oil in the ground. Well, billions anyway. Millions of trees for every ounce. Whatever the number is. It's a lot of trees anyway. Million anyway. Thousands of thousands. Anyway. Yeah, then I'm going to have a whole different understanding, and my will is going to change in terms of my relationship to that tree. Because now I see it for what, for much more than this simplicity. And will is made out of the same stuff. Your conscience and your integrity and your character if it's complex, then will is going to be complicated. But if you're ignorant and stupid and myopic, then you just march through stuff, slop, 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 bang, bang. You put your rubbers on and you just do your little trommelsing, and will seems uncomplicated because you just do. There's either do or do not do. And there's nothing called trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, which is the tricky part. But it's not that tricky. Like I said, if you really do take just a little bit of time to really analyze what the hell's going on in your head, you can see you're completely made out of bullshit, that all there is a few simple little desires, and there's nothing else happening. And it's just been complicated because of indecision, because those desires are in conflict with each other. You can't have both honor, integrity, and decency, and be a selfish motherfucking feeding the machine. You can't have it both ways. You can't believe in doing no harm and then impose risk on somebody else. Moving it towards my subject. Anyway, sorry, I'm a little distracted. It happens. Life is complicated. Yeah. I can't even read. My eyes are just so unfocused. Yeah. So anyway, rationalization. Yeah, liberated. Okay, so that's what I'll end with. This is the liberated part. Yeah, screw playing Pyro's video. Screw it. Or even Fred's. Alright, the sun, let's say the sun supernovas. Now you could look at that and you could say it's forcing a bunch of light out. Or you could say it's releasing light it had trapped. Okay, so it's liberating photons. It's not pushing them or forcing them, it's just freeing them. Now, it's just a simple change in the perspective, and all of a sudden now it's upside down. Now it's a completely different concept than what you had before. Understanding can change that easily by just seeing through some sort of veneer that is some optical illusion that has turned it upside down. And I guess my argument is that the human race has lived on a bunch of upside-down notions of reality, God being the most obvious one, but they're all out there. The idea that if you have desire, if you're attracted to something, that's somehow different, that's somehow meritorious, when it's still a control mechanism. Just as the repulsion is, the attraction is still you being owned by something that's telling you what you're going to do. It's telling you what its value is. It's telling you you need it. I mean, it's obviously a strong compulsion because you will, step on your grandmother sometimes to go get your goodie, your attractive, the thing you're attracted to, the attractite. How far do I want to take these metaphors? But anyway, that's what the universe is doing. There's just this. There could be just one force in the whole thing, and it's either attraction or repulsion. But it doesn't matter. It's one thing, and it's just like my argument. There's only one component to anything. And the opposite side is just a reflection of the deficit created by the creation of the other thing. So in a sense, all positives are just the eliminations of negatives. They're all just eliminations of some sort of state of deprivation or harm. And there is no real necessity to travel the road. There's no need to climb out of the dungeon if you never were put in the dungeon. From the flat plateau, there will be no cause or purpose. And outside of the non-plateau of this ecosystem that we've declared valid, outside of that dungeon, there's no purpose to be accomplished. There's nothing to be served. There's no itch needing scratching. There's no hunger or desire or harm to serve. Yeah. It's all just a contrivance in your brains. And it's just like all aspects of your will, your perception of this thing having value or purpose is a lie. Is as much a lie as you're rooting for the home team or your preference for large breasts or whatever the hell it is. It's all just contrivances inside of your brain that motivates you. And it's all just bullshit. It's a high price to pay for a pot of bullshit. Alright, that's enough.